welcome to Central Florida Salute. On this episode, we're going to take you to Paris, France, where we're going to take a ride down the river and you're going to see some sights like Notre Dame being repaired after that awesome, terrible fire they had. You're going to see the Eiffel Tower. You're also going to take you to the Louvre and see some of the beautiful art that's there, along with Mona Lisa. She's there. Then you're going to take you around and you'll see the Eiffel Tower lit up at night. But I want you to notice the bikes. Everybody's got a bicycle over there. Not me. But anyway, enjoy the show.
Paris is the capital and most populous city of France, with an official estimated population of 2,102,650 residents in an area of more than 41 square miles, making it the fourth most populated city in the European Union as well as the 30th most densely populated city in the world since the 17th century. Paris has been one of the world's major centers of finance, diplomacy, commerce, culture, fashion, gastronomy and many areas. For its leading role in the arts and sciences, as well as its early and extensive system of street lighting, in the 19th century, it became known as the City of Light. The city of Paris is the center of the Île-de-France region, or Paris region, with an official estimated population of 12,271,794 inhabitants on January 1, 2023, or about 19% of the population of France, making the region France's primate city. The Paris region had a GDP of €765 billion in 2021, the highest in the European Union. According to the Economist Intelligence Unit Worldwide Cost of Living Survey, in 2022, Paris was the city with the 9th highest cost of living in the world. Paris is a major railway, highway, and air transport hub served by two international airports, Charles de Gaulle Airport, the second busiest airport in Europe, and Orly Airport. Opened in 1900, the city's subway system, the Paris Metro, serves 5.23 million passengers daily. It is the second busiest metro system in Europe after the Moscow Metro. Gare du Nord is the 24th busiest railway station in the world and the busiest outside Japan, with 262 million passengers in 2015. Paris is especially known for its museums and architectural landmarks. The Louvre received 7.8 million visitors in 2022, keeping its position as the most visited art museum in the world. The historical district along the Seine in the city center has been classified as a UNESCO World Heritage Site since 1991. Popular landmarks there include the Cathedral of Notre Dame de Paris on the Île de la Cité, now closed for renovation after the April 15, 2019 fire. Other popular tourist sites include the Gothic Royal Chapel of Sainte-Chapelle, also on the Île de la Cité, the Eiffel Tower, constructed for the Paris Universal Exposition of 1889, the Grand Palais and Petit Palais, built for the Paris Universal Exposition of 1900, the Arc de Triomphe on the Champs-Élysées, and the Hill of Montmartre with its artistic history and its Basilica of Sacré-Cœur. Paris hosts several United Nations organizations including UNESCO, and other international organizations such as the OECD Development Center, the International Bureau of Weights and Measures, the International Energy Agency, the International Federation for Human Rights, along with European bodies such as the European Space Agency, the European Banking Authority or the European Securities and Markets Authority. The Tomb of the Unknown Soldier holds an unidentified member of the French armed forces killed during the First World War, to symbolically commemorate all soldiers who have died for France throughout history. It was installed in Paris under the Arc de Triomphe on November 11, 1920, simultaneously with the interment of a British unknown soldier in Westminster Abbey, making both graves the first examples of a tomb of the unknown soldier, and the first to honor the unknown dead of the First World War. The burial site, surrounded by black metal posts linked together by chains, consists of a slab of granite from Vire on which is inscribed the epitaph, "Here rests a French soldier who died for the fatherland, 1914 to 1918. In 1923, an eternal flame was added, rekindled every day at 6:30 p.m. after World War II, a bronze shield embellished with a sword engulfed in flames, offered by the Allies to the glory of the French armies and in memory of the liberation of Paris, was installed at the foot of the tomb. The expression Dol Sacré, sacred slab, popularized by General Vagon, is used by associations of veterans to designate the tomb and its flame. 1. The monument is guarded on a permanent basis by a specialized unit of the National Police. The Seine is a 483-mile river in northern France. Its drainage basin is in the Paris Basin, a geological relative lowland, covering most of northern France. It rises at Source Seine, 9 miles northwest of Dijon in northeastern France in the Langres Plateau, flowing through Paris and into the English Channel at Le Havre, and Honfleur on the left bank. It is navigable by ocean-going vessels as far as Rouen, 75 miles from the sea. Over 60% of its length, as far as Burgundy, is negotiable by large barges and most tour boats, and nearly its whole length is available for recreational boating. Excursion boats offer sightseeing tours of the river banks in the capital city, Paris. There are 37 bridges in Paris across the Seine, the most famous of which are the Pont Alexandre III and the Pont Neuf, and dozens more outside the city. A notable bridge, which is also the last along the course of the river, is the Pont de Normandie, the 9th longest cable-stayed bridge in the world, which links Le Havre and Honfleur. A very severe period of high water in January 1910 resulted in extensive flooding throughout the city. The Seine again rose to threatening levels in 1924, 1955, 1982, 1999 to 2000, June 2016, and January 2018. After a first-level flood alert in 2003, about 100,000 works of art were moved out of Paris, the largest relocation of art since World War II. Much of the art in Paris is kept in underground storage rooms that would have been flooded. A 2002 report by the French government stated the worst-case Seine flood scenario would cost €10 billion and cut telephone service for 1 million Parisians, leaving 200,000 without electricity and 100,000 without gas. The Seine was one of the original objectives of Operation Overlord in 1944. The Allies' intention was to reach the Seine by 90 days after D-Day. That objective was met. An anticipated assault crossing of the river never materialized as German resistance in France crumbled by early September 1944. However, the 1st Canadian Army did encounter resistance immediately west of the Seine, and fighting occurred in the Forêt de la Lande as Allied troops attempted to cut off the escape across the river of parts of the German 7th Army in the closing phases of the Battle of Normandy. Musée du Louvre. The Louvre, or the Louvre Museum, is a national art museum in Paris, France. A central landmark of the city, it is located on the right bank of the Seine in the city's first arrondissement, district or ward, and home to some of the most canonical works of Western art, including the Mona Lisa and the Venus de Milo. The museum is housed in the Louvre Palace, originally built in the late 12th to 13th century under Philip II. Remnants of the medieval Louvre fortress are visible in the basement of the museum. Due to urban expansion, the fortress eventually lost its defensive function, and in 1546 Francis I converted it into the primary residence of the French kings. The building was extended many times to form the present Louvre Palace. In 1682, Louis XIV chose the Palace of Versailles for his household, leaving the Louvre primarily as a place to display the royal collection, including, from 1692, a collection of ancient Greek and Roman sculpture. In 1692, the building was occupied by the Académie des Inscriptions et Belles Lettres and the Académie Royale de Peinture et de Sculpture, which in 1699 held the first of a series of salons. The Académie remained at the Louvre for 100 years. During the French Revolution, the National Assembly decreed that the Louvre should be used as a museum to display the nation's masterpieces. The museum opened on August 10, 1793 with an exhibition of 537 paintings, the majority of the works being royal and confiscated church property. Because of structural problems with the building, the museum was closed in 1796 until 1801. The collection was increased under Napoleon and the museum was renamed Musée Napoleon, but after Napoleon's abdication, many works seized by his armies were returned to their original owners. The collection was further increased during the reigns of Louis XVIII and Charles X, and during the Second French Empire the museum gained 20,000 pieces. Holdings have grown steadily through donations and bequests since the Third Republic. The collection is divided among 8 curatorial departments: Egyptian antiquities, Near Eastern antiquities, Greek, Etruscan, and Roman antiquities, Islamic art, sculpture, decorative arts, paintings, prints and drawings. The Musée du Louvre contains more than 380,000 objects and displays 35,000 works of art in 8 curatorial departments with more than 60,600 square meters, 652,000 square feet, dedicated to the permanent collection. The Louvre exhibits sculptures, objets d'art, paintings, drawings, and archaeological finds. At any given point in time, approximately 38,000 objects from prehistory to the 21st century are being exhibited over an area of 72,735 square meters, 782,910 square feet. With over 7.8 million visitors in 2022, the Louvre is the world's most visited museum. From 1815 to 1852 Edith the Venus de Milo was added to the Louvre's collection during the reign of Louis XVIII. For most of the 19th century, from Napoleon's time to the Second Empire, the Louvre and other national museums were managed under the monarch's civil list and thus depended much on the ruler's personal involvement. Whereas the most iconic collection remained that of paintings in the Grand Gallery, a number of other initiatives mushroomed in the vast building, named as if they were separate museums even though they were generally managed under the same administrative umbrella. Correspondingly, the museum complex was often referred to in the plural, Les Musées du Louvre, rather than singular. Citation needed during the Bourbon Restoration, 1814 to 1830, Louis XVIII and Charles X added to the collections. The Greek and Roman sculpture gallery on the ground floor of the southwestern side of the Cour Carrée was completed on designs by Percier and Fontaine. In 1819 an exhibition of manufactured products was opened in the first floor of the Cour Carrée's southern wing and would stay there until the mid-1820s. Charles X in 1826 created the Musée Égyptien and in 1827 included it in his broader Musée Charles X, a new section of the museum complex located in a suite of lavishly decorated rooms on the first floor of the south wing of the Cour Carrée. The Egyptian collection, initially curated by Jean-François Champollion, formed the basis for what is now the Louvre's Department of Egyptian Antiquities. It was formed from the purchased collections of Edmé Antoine Durand, Henry Salt and the second collection of Bernardino Drovetti, the first one having been purchased by Victor Emmanuel I of Sardinia to form the core of the present Museo Egizio in Turin. The restoration period also saw the opening in 1824 of the Galerie d'Angoulême, a section of largely French sculptures on the ground floor of the northwestern side of the Cour Carrée, many of whose artifacts came from the Palace of Versailles and from Alexandre Lenoir's Musée des Monuments Français following its closure in 1816. Meanwhile, the French Navy created an exhibition of ship models in the Louvre in December 1827, initially named Musée Dauphin in honor of Dauphin Louis Antoine, building on an 18th-century initiative of Henri-Louis de Mel du Monceau. This collection, renamed Musée Naval in 1833 and later to develop into the Musée National de la Marine, was initially located on the first floor of the Cour Carrée's north wing, and in 1838 moved up one level to the second floor attic, where it remained for more than a century.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that show. We're going to say goodbye, but I want to tell you about the next show we got coming up. We're finally going to take you to Normandy, the Battle of the Bulge, some museums, and some of the graveyards that are there where General Patton is buried, along with the German cemetery where the Desert Fox, Rommel, was buried. A lot to see, so keep watching. But until then, to all our veterans out there, active military and their families, we salute you for all you do. Until next time.